Today, on My 2 Cent, I want to talk about the Karmelo Anthony video. This video has been made public now of what actually transpired between Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. So let me play that video first.
Reporting live from Hypers Club, Fight Plus News, I'm John Abba.
You know what would have happened if that white boy went to an HBCU game and he sat up under somebody's tent? They would have welcomed him.
As we continue our coverage surrounding the trial of Karmelo Anthony, the Texas high school student who was found guilty of murder this month for the stabbing of fellow high school athlete Austin Metcalf, footage of the incident has finally been released. During the late afternoon and evening of June 19th, the judge over the case would agree to release the footage and evidence of the 2025 incident for the first time. A part of the release, the public would be able to see the alleged weapon, surveillance footage of the stabbing, Anthony's arrest, along with 911 calls that would come in.
I need paramedics at Kirkendall Stadium right away.
Okay, what's going on?
I have an athlete that was stabbed.
He was stabbed?
Yes.
Okay, where's the person who stabbed him?
I don't know.
Okay, where in the stadium is he?
We are on the visitor side bleachers. We have Army veteran that's trying to keep compression on the wound.
Okay. Are you with him now?
He is laying here.
How old is he?
Starting to go unconscious.
How old is he?
High school age, so maybe 15, 16, 17.
Okay. Is he awake?
No, he's going unconscious.
Okay. Is he breathing?
Not right now.
Breathing?
No, he's not.
He's not breathing at all?
No.
Okay. Where was he stabbed at?
In his chest.
Okay. I've got them coming, okay? Stay on the phone with me, all right?
Okay.
Is the assailant still nearby?
Okay. I'm here.
Is the assailant still nearby?
Now, when it came down to Anthony's arrest, a few things would be noticed for some. Anthony would express that he warned Metcalf specifically not to touch him, and that he would cry and even ask if Metcalf would be okay.
All right. Memorial tent over there, guys. All right.
He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me.
Let me do one more little check of you, okay?
Yes, sir.
You don't mind for reaching your pockets, anything like that?
Sir,
You good?
you can.
What's your name, man?
Carmelo Anthony, K-A-R-M-E-L.
Okay. Let me check your hood here, buddy, okay?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, lean this way so you're not resting on your hands, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's see, hold on one second.
Is he going to be okay?
I don't know yet, man. Karmelo, C-A-R-A.
K-A-R.
In the footage of his arrest, it also does appear that Karmelo would comply with the officers the entire time and would admit that he was the one that did it. Now, as we've been covering the story, many black users who empathize with Anthony would be vocal about their support even before seeing exactly what happened. So on Friday, when footage of the stabbing would finally be released of the incident, many now wondered what those same people now feel. In the grainy footage shot from an overhead camera on the opposite side of the stadium they were in, you can somewhat put together the story. At one point, you see Karmelo enter the other team's tent during this rainy day at the track meet. Now, according to reports, his team did not have a tent set up, and he and his team members were asked to leave a baseball dugout where they were getting shelter just before he would go under the now infamous tent. Now, as the video continues, it appears that Anthony begins talking to someone he knew for the next several minutes. According to reports, that would be Eddie Para, a student who was a part of the school whose tent he sat under. Now, what is not yet understood is if Metcalf and his brothers were already there, but looking at the footage, it appears that Metcalf would later enter the shot and, according to reports, would notice that he did not recognize Anthony and began to ask Anthony to leave their tent. This is when it appears that a back and forth would take place, and by looking closely, you can then see Metcalf shove Anthony. Now, according to reports, Anthony would warn Metcalf just before being pushed, "Touch me and see what happens," as he reached in his bag. Now, in response, Metcalf would allegedly think Anthony was bluffing and would respond with, "You don't have anything in that backpack," before he would push Anthony to get out. Now, from the looks of the footage, Anthony's response would be quick, and you can make out him instantly striking Metcalf before running from the tent. But he would later then walk back towards the tent after it appears that he realized what he did. Karmelo would soon after be apprehended by police. As mentioned, many black users who have been following the case will go on to share their reaction in seeing the footage and evidence for the first time.
There's going to be a lot more people coming out and apologizing on this Karmelo Anthony case. Because what I could map out, unless I just saw wrong, because it was blurry, it was, but he wasn't getting jumped. There wasn't multiple people ganging up on him. It wasn't no long fight. What I felt like I could see when you zoomed in was Austin pushed him and immediately got poked.
What I told y'all, baby, Karmelo Anthony was wrong. Karmelo Anthony was guilty. Karmelo Anthony made a bad mistake and he made a bad decision. It wasn't self-defense and the video came out. I told y'all, he didn't get jumped. I told y'all, Karmelo Anthony didn't get jumped. The proof is there. I told y'all. Y'all thought I was lying.
Now, despite the footage's release, some online users have still chosen to support Anthony's self-defense claim, and all agree that Metcalf appeared to be the aggressor in the situation.
That sounds like self-defense to me, sweetheart. Clear as fucking day. He touched me. Touch me and see what happens in the black community is a warning. You have crossed the boundary into my personal space. And if you don't remove yourself, somebody is liable to get hurt. That is not a threat. That is a warning. You know why white folks don't understand that warning? Is because they're usually the ones giving the threat. That's why the prosecution said that was a threat. He made a threat towards Austin Metcalf. No, Austin Metcalf did not know what a boundary was. Like most 3x5 cards. This needs to go back in. We need another trial, okay, baby? With the judge abruptly trying to leave, with Austin Metcalf's dad getting on the internet and calling Karmelo Anthony a watermelon felon, an all-white jury? No, retrial. That appeal needs to, we need a, that, boy, self-defense.
Many of y'all are seeing the leaked video. Like we had told y'all, when you see the video, you're absolutely going to understand why we are saying self-defense. You can see everything that all those people who signed that document to see that video, their story matches up with what you see in that video. It also matches up what Hunter said in that first interview last year. He said they were the ones who approached Karmelo. They were the ones who sought him out. You see them walk into the frame off the street, going to seek him out. The fact that now the video is being leaked when they said that, you know, people probably would not see the video is wild and crazy work. But it was real funny that they released the video on Juneteenth like that was going to do something. If that video was to prove that Karmelo was the aggressor, it would have been released last year.
As of now, Karmelo has since filed an appeal and would ask the court to assign him with an attorney due to not having any money to hire one. However, in the most recent updates surrounding the story, Anthony and his family have now hired their own appeal attorney, as the attorney they were given would share with News Nation that he no longer represents Karmelo. As of this report.
So after seeing the video, a lot of people are siding with Austin Metcalf. They say he's the victim. And Karmelo Anthony got exactly what he deserved. You saw the video. Well, I took down my original video because I had done a video addressing this. But now that I have the video, I feel I can be more accurate in my assessment of the whole situation. Now, I now know, based on what I saw in the video, that it was an altercation between Austin Metcalf and Anthony Karmelo, period. It wasn't like he was surrounded by a bunch of different people and they jumped him. His brother Hunter was standing right there with him, but I saw one individual shove him, and I also saw Karmelo Anthony jab him in the chest when he shoved him. So now I know, based on what I saw in that video, that it wasn't like a whole bunch of people surrounded him. It was one individual that put his hands on it, and that was Austin Metcalf. And you even heard the voice of Karmelo crying when the cop got him that he touched me, he put his hands on me. So when I hear that voice, that sounds like a little scary person. That's what it sounds like to me. So if they try to paint him out to be this monster who wanted to kill, I'm not buying that. I believe he was a coward. And if you corner a coward, that is the worst thing you can do. I believe, based on what I heard, that he was a coward. And Austin Metcalf is a bully. Now, that's a fact. It came out that him and his brother were bullying on some girls and got suspended. So he was a bully. Not understanding to corner someone who's a coward is very, very dangerous. And so he got stabbed, a fatal blow, and he died as a result of it. Now, it's a tragedy on both sides because they were both young teenagers, not fully developed, and they both made bad choices. Both of them did. And it's really, really sad. So they still can argue that this was self-defense because Austin Metcalf was the aggressor. They don't want to talk about that. They want to downplay that because he's the one who died. But no, we cannot downplay that. See, in Texas, they have stand your ground laws. So you see this map right here. All the green is where they have the stand your ground law. Now, what is the stand your ground law? Okay, again, what does stand your ground mean in law? In law, a stand your ground statute gives a person the legal right to use deadly force in self-defense without first attempting to retreat, provided they are in a place they have a legal right to be and reasonably fear for their safety. So they can still try to argue this because he had a right to be there. He was on the track team. They was there to compete with the other track members. And we saw in the video that they say an associate of his named Eddie Parra invited him to come underneath that tent to get out of the rain. So he had a legal right to be at the school, and he was invited to be underneath the tent. Austin Metcalf and his brother were on the football team. So they came over there. They saw him under the tent, and they said that Austin started telling him he had to leave. Austin had no right to tell him to leave. The tent did not belong to him. It was not his job to enforce who could and could not sit underneath the tent. So he was all the way wrong for doing that. They want to try to downplay that. If he felt that Karmelo Anthony didn't belong under that tent, he should have got a coach or somebody from the school to deal with that. But he took the law into his own hands, and he decided that he was going to make him leave. So he was all the way wrong for doing that. It was very stupid, and it cost him his life. Now, back to the stand the ground law. Let me put it up again. In law, a stand your ground statute gives a person a legal right to use deadly force in self-defense without first attempting to retreat. And that's exactly what he did. It says, provided they are in a place they have a legal right to be, which he was, and reasonably fear for their safety. Now, that's the part that is in question. I saw the video now, and I believe that what Karmelo Anthony should have done, even though he had a legal right to be under there, he should have got up and left He should have got up there and left. Instead, he told him, don't put your hands on me. If you put your hands on me, I'm going to do something to you. And the bully said, I don't believe you have nothing. And the bully shoved him and he got stabbed in the heart and he died. He, in my opinion, regardless of what the law says, he should have left. And the whole thing could have been avoided because he was not surrounded by a bunch of different people, and he could have left. Now, back to this. In law, a stand your ground statute gives a person the legal right to use deadly force in self-defense without first attempting to retreat, provided they are in a place they have a legal right to be and reasonably fear for their safety. I believe this boy was a coward, and that's why he did something extreme. But he could have left. So I cannot leave that off. Nobody was stopping him from leaving. He could have walked away, and the whole thing could have been avoided. Okay? Here go the legal principles under that stand of the law. First, we have no duty to retreat. Traditional self-defense laws often require you to walk away from a dangerous situation if it is safe to do so. Under a stand your ground law, you do not have an obligation to escape or de-escalate before using proportionate force. So according to the stand your ground law, he did not have to leave. The second legal principle says fear. The defense only applies if you reasonably believe that using deadly force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. Now, this is the part that the jury decided wasn't the case. They did not view Karmelo Anthony being in a situation where he might have received great bodily harm or even imminent death, which they cannot determine that. Because let's say that Karmelo Anthony didn't have a knife and Austin and him got to fighting. Austin was bigger than him. He's a football player. His brother was standing right there. Austin alone could have beat him to death. Just because he didn't have a weapon doesn't mean he couldn't harm him. He could have beat him to death, or his brother could have joined in and they both could have beat him to death. But again, I saw where he could have left, but the law said he didn't have to leave. So this is what they have to argue if they get an appeal and they go back in there. If they didn't argue this the first time, they have to argue this because this is the law in Texas. Then the last thing says doctrine. This is a closely related concept that specifically protects individuals using force to defend themselves against intruders in their own home or vehicle. Stand your ground expands this principle to public spaces where you are lawfully present. So according to the law in Texas, he had a right to stand his ground. But here's the thing. In this world, in this country, Black people, unless God intervenes, we don't get the benefit or support of the law. Now, this is where I get angry with his parents, but in all fairness, I have to say something different this time around. I believe, based on the things his parents said in the interview, that they failed to teach their son about racism and how the world really works. I truly believe that, but I could be wrong. Now, before I say anything else about his parents, I want to play this clip when they were interviewed so you can hear what they had to say.
Karmelo Anthony's family is also talking tonight. They believe the trial was unfair from the start. They do plan to appeal. Our Ken Molestina to continue now our team coverage.
A day after the trial, Karmelo Anthony's parents, Andrew Anthony and Kayla Hayes, sat down to break their silence and to let the world know how they're feeling as their son begins his 35-year sentence for murder. Despite what a jury found, his parents dispute their son ever wanted to kill Austin Metcalf.
My son is no murderer. My son didn't intend to hurt anyone. My son was defending himself. And that's what hurt so bad.
His mother recounts the moment she addressed the jury and made her plea to them during the sentencing phase.
To have mercy on my son. That's what I told the jury. I know they had their minds made up already, so, I mean, really wasn't much I could say to change their mind.
Both parents fighting back emotions and tears as they described what they believe was a flawed trial.
We were delusional. We thought we was going to get a fair shake.
They claimed there were inconsistencies from the get-go, despite witnesses who took an oath vowing to tell the truth.
Everyone actually lied on the stand.
Everyone.
All of the witnesses' statements were inconsistent. All of them.
His father says the court of public opinion had made up their mind about his son long before the trial began.
He was convicted when he walked out of the jail. If you looked at the news all last year, he was already convicted. If you look at it, it was already done. It was no innocent until proven guilty. He was already guilty.
He says the threats of violence against them continue.
People want us dead. That's what.
After they still got what they wanted.
After they still got what they want, they still want us dead. I can see. You see, I go look at my phone. People want us dead. They want our family.
And so when I look at that interview, I see two black people who supposed to know better because they're adults. They've been in the world. I'm pretty sure they've suffered from racist people. And I just can't believe that they were advised against getting a black attorney. They were told not to make a race issue out of it. They were told all these things, and they both just listened to what they were told and did nothing to help their son. Now, after the fact, now they want to say, "Oh, we should have did this, we should have did that." That makes me very angry at them, and it's just sad that there's a lot of black people in this world who don't use their brain, So I'm gonna be nice this time. I'm not gonna go in on them like I did the last time. But he said in one of the videos that he failed his son. And I agree 100%. You failed your son because you should have taught your son the consequences of doing something as serious as taking another person's life. You should have taught your son that if he killed somebody, it should be only when he had absolutely no other choice. And he had a choice based on the video I saw. In other words, he should have did what the Bible says here in Proverbs 22, verse 6. The scripture says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. He should have taught him the commandment that says, thou shalt not kill. He should have let him know there are dire consequences when you take someone's life. And you should only do that when you absolutely have no other choice. And based on the video that I saw, that was not the case. Yes, the law said he had a right to stand his ground, but being an intelligent black person in this white racist world, we should know that even though they have laws on the books, they were never put there for us. And there's a double standard. If Karmelo Anthony was white and his son, Austin Metcalf was black, this would be an entirely different thing. If Karmelo Anthony was white and stabbed him, then they would be arguing the stand your ground laws of Texas, and he would have never saw a day in jail. That is just the reality of the situation. So they failed him. And now I want to talk about the parents or the father of this young man, these two young men, Austin Metcalf, the one who got killed, and his brother Hunter. This is their father, Jeff Metcalf. And at first he claimed to be a Christian and he said God's going to take care of it. But then his true colors came out and he showed us something very interesting about himself when he went on a racist rant. Let me play this little clip.
Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, calls Karmelo Anthony a watermelon felon, his mother an itch, add the B, his father an issy, add the P, and also calls out Charleston White.
Let me make one up. Y'all can let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral. Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike you? Charleston White, you think you're funny? We'll see who's laughing. Drew Anthony, you're a pussy and a coward, and you raised one. Kayla, you drunk bitch. What'd you do to that boy to make him stab somebody? My God, what kind of mother are you? The race card, black fatigue, it's real.
Now, in that clip, you can hear him saying all of those things, plus saying black fatigue is real. What you do not hear is that he also went on a whole spiel about slavery and how they actually fought for us to be free. And that's something I guess we should be celebrating, and said that we feel like everything is white people's fault. He also brings up somebody and says that he is the only person in his family that is not a felon. And he guessed that's something to celebrate in our culture. Y'all, this interview was with Sarah Fields. There were a lot of other things said. It's a whole full interview if you want to go and check it out. Now, Sarah Fields is one of the people that went to court. This is also the person who had an alleged unfriendly interaction with Nick at Night. Now, Karmelo Anthony has filed a notice of appeal, so there is something in the works going on. But I do want to say this: if y'all are donating or helping in any kind of way, stop making grand announcements. Everybody doesn't need to know what you're doing, especially if you're doing it from your heart. On top of that, if you're finding things that are wrong legally, if you're finding reasons that the appeal should be able to be granted, move in silence. When you're playing cards, your opponent does not know what you have until it's time for that card to be shown. As hard as y'all are going to work for Karmelo, the other side is going to also work as hard to stop this from happening. Y'all, once I have more.
Now, when I saw that interview, I saw the full interview, I said, okay, now I begin to understand why his sons, Austin and Hunter Metcalf, felt they had the right to come and tell a black person where he couldn't be, and why Austin felt he had the right to forcibly try to remove him, because the father is a bigot. And people say what they really mean. You know, he said, let me make up something so we can go viral. And he called him a watermelon felon. Watermelon is a racist slur that racists use against African Americans. So when I saw that, I said, he's on here blaming Karmelo for the death of his son. Well, he ought to go look in the mirror. He failed his sons as a father. He should have taught his sons, you do not have the right to tell black people what to do, and you most definitely don't have the right to put your hands on them, because he failed to teach his children that. One of them is dead, and he can make all the racist slurs he want to make and say all the racist stuff about black people he want to say. Nothing's going to change the fact that his son is dead and he ain't never coming back. So that same scripture that I said applied to Karmelo's parents should have applied to him. He should have trained up his children in the way they should go, and when they got older, they wouldn't have departed from it. So now that I have the video, I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I know he was not surrounded by a bunch of people. It was Austin Metcalf standing in front of him, and his brother was there. He could have left, and he should have left. He should have left. And so that's why I'm shooting this video. Black people, if you find yourself in a situation like that, and you can leave, leave. Because if you defend yourself and that white aggressor ends up dead, you're not going to get a fair trial in the court. You should try your best to stay out of the white man's court system. That's one of the main reasons I'm reshooting this video. And to white people who are prejudiced and racist, you should keep your hands to yourself. You should leave Black people alone, because if you don't, this could happen to you. You may run into some Black who's a coward and fearful for their life, and you don't realize what you're doing, that they're going to go for the kill because they have that much fear of you. Or you might find some who just fed up with all the racist mess that you've done to our people for all these years, and they still might kill you. So you need to leave Black people alone. So there's two lessons here. And the law says that he had a right to stand his ground. So my position is, legally, he had a right to do what he did. He felt his life was in imminent danger, and so he defended himself. But in reality, in the white man's system, you see where he is, right? They made sure they removed the 3 Black jurors. They took the case out of the county where it actually happened. We believe his attorney was working for them, and you see what happened to him. He's in jail. Now there's a possibility of him getting an appeal. So I say, pray for this young man, that God protects him and that he gets an appeal, because I don't think he should have got the 35-year sentence when there are white people who have done the exact same thing and got a lesser sentence. Sure, he should be punished for taking a life when he didn't have to take a life, but I don't think he should get 35 years. He should get the same length of time that a white person would get. Then that would be fair. Should he walk completely? No, you cannot kill a person when it wasn't a life or death scenario. And everybody who has a brain and can understand what they saw under that tent, even though there was dark shadows, it was not a situation where they had him cornered and he couldn't leave. He could have left. So he took that boy's life. He's in jail. And I'm praying to God that he doesn't get killed or raped in jail. And I'm praying that he has a second trial and that he gets a just sentencing this time, because 35 years for something that you would give a white person 10 years. No, that's a double standard. Be fair about it. Administer the law evenly. And so I had to shoot this video now that I have more facts. I took down the first video. You won't find it because I didn't have all the facts. And even though the visual on the tape is not crystal clear, it's clear enough for me to see that he could have left. Now, as far as all those Blacks who were celebrating and happy and jumped over to the other side to Austin Metcalf, and they're saying that Karmelo deserved exactly what he got, I do not agree with that. I do agree he should be punished for taking that life. And I still stand with him, because if the law was going to be applied evenly, he was well within his rights to do what he did. Austin Metcalf had no business putting his hands on it. He did, and because he did that, he lost his life. So I'm Minister Barton Aaron Porter, the Christian conversationalist, and that is my 2 cents.